So let's go and continue with Kafka performance. This is the Kafka Skewer channel, your channel to talk about Apache Kafka. And we'll go to more in detail and understand a little bit about throughput, how I can configure my Kafka to high throughput, right? So here in the first uh, minutes of the video, you can check the configuration that we'll talk about a little bit. And you can go if you don't want more to, yeah, I'm not the guy that to continues with you into the end of the video. If you just want to check the configurations file and what the things do you need to configure, here is the configurations, and we try to talk, and I try to talk to explain some things, and perhaps we can change some knowledge here. If you have some doubts or something, please put in comments down below. So let's talk about a little bit how we can do optimization on the throughput level in Kafka, right? So the first thing that I want to mention here is regarding producers, right? So the producers, we have this config here. So basically, we can increase it. Remember this, when you talk about throughput and latency, is a different things, right? Not different thing, but when you want to increase throughput, you need to change batch size and linger.ms, right? You need to increase both. So this is one, I mean, this is important to because this is a question that I remember in Confluent Cloud, in Confluent Certificate Administrator. So this is a good thing to in this case, we want to increase a little bit. There's some recommendation. If you check Kafka, the default value for Kafka it's to latency performance. But if the purpose of your Kafka is high throughput, you need to change some configuration producer level and consumer level and perhaps broker level. So the idea here is increase the batch size, increase the linger.ms, right? So this can give it to you more bytes to send to Kafka. And another thing it is important is to use compression. So this is the recommendation for compression, that you can don't use so much CPU. And another thing is important to check is the buffer memory. You can increase a little bit more the buffer of the memory. So this is a kind of configuration on the producer side that you can check more performance. But please try to test on the producer side. Don't just copy and paste. Just try to understand what these configurations means, right, on the producer level. So, and the other thing, it is very important to, if you want, right, because the parallelism in Kafka, it is partitions. So if you have a topic one with 10 partitions, for sure you can give you this high throughput. So because we have the parallelism here, producer can produce more message between different partitions, right? So you have 3 brokers, and we have these partitions between the 3 brokers, right? And we need to care about to produce on high throughput, but perhaps if you just increase the partitions is not enough to use. So this is why we have this kind of configuration that we can recommend to you. And from the consumer side, as we have the batch, the linger, the concept of the batch size, if you don't know, if you just send one messages, is not enough, it's better to send the batch of messages. This way you can increase the throughput, right? You need to understand this basic concept. And the consumer side have something similar. So this is why we have this kind of configuration here that we can improve and increase, right? Because the flow is only one, but we can wait a little bit more until Kafka have more bytes to consume message and consume it like a big batch, right? And we can change the byte and the ms, and also you could test max.poll.records. So please take a look on these configurations on the consumer side and test. Don't just copy, right? Another thing it is important to you to know is from the broker level. If you need more throughput, it's better to increase your network threads and the check in IO threads. These two configurations can give it to you a little bit more power for your brokers in the broker level, because, and these other guys here also, because if you want to send more messages, you have a high throughput, perhaps the sockets on the buffer level you need to take a look and decrease a little bit. Another thing that you can give it to more throughput, it's disks, right? Make sure you have a good disks, the most fast disk as possible, and perhaps you can split the Kafka broker. So let's, for here in this Kafka broker, you can split your data logs. Data logs, I mean the place that will save your partitions, and two disks, disk 1 and disk 2, right? Because this you can save and split the workload in between two disks. Let's go to the Kafka performance. You can understand a little bit more about what I try to explain here. So this is a good blog post from Confluent. You can check, right? And they did a lot of different bunch of tests. But here, this first image you can check here. So they have a maximum disk throughput and have the Kafka throughput and the latency. If you check when you have a high throughput, at the same time you increase the latency. So which means perhaps the latency is not the best portion to you, right? So they have here the benchmark code, but basically they use Kafka is an old one with Zookeeper, right? But if you check, they put disks and use two different disks, so which means aggregation disks, as I mentioned, it, because they configured two disks to logs, you can aggregate the maximum throughput that it's possible to write on the disks. And one way to check how, I mean, if you want to check in what your disks, what the maximum disk bandwidth you have right now, it's a common. This is I mean, I use this command. This is very powerful. It's just Linux. This will just create a file on the disk, and the command dd will show to you these numbers here. And like this guy here, these different disks have a different numbers, and perhaps you can check the performance of your disk right now. It's a good to know. You can check also some tuning your OS, but we don't talk about this right now. And the throughput test. The throughput depth test, basically they configure batch size with Omega, linger.ms 10 ms, right? AC key equal all, but I mean for throughput, perhaps equal 1 should be better. and min sync happy equal to, it's good, but perhaps I could be extracted more and could be more powerful if you put ACK equal 1 here, in my opinion. But in this way, the Kafka, this graph can show the I/O utilization on the disk, that we mean the high throughput that we can have on the producer side and consumer side, right? So basically that's it. So if you want to increase your throughput, it's good to you guys know, take a look on the disks, right? Take a look on the configuration on broad producer side, consumer side, and the broker side. We have yeah, this is another link, another configurations, and another thing that, but it's old, right? But the concept and the is the same. If you can understand a little bit how the things works here, and the way they did in the setup, and the way they produce the throughput, the threads, and how the things works, I mean, it's something that definitely can help you to define and decide some things on your Kafka. I want to prepare some lab or internal lab. I mean, we can create in Docker, or perhaps in Kubernetes in my local machine. I can provide the YAML files. We can create producer and consumer Kafka. I have the binaries to do this, but we can try to do this together and try to prepare something, and perhaps, yeah, we can create the Grafana and Prometheus to collect the metrics, etc., and compare how the things works, this kind of, records and bytes and latency, etc. But yeah, this is for the next video. But let me know if you have some use case from Throughput, or if you have some experience to try to do some changes here, or if you know perhaps some another different configuration that you can suggest or help. Yeah, please let me know, and let's help each other. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.